Hello, dear students. Welcome back to a new lecture. In this lecture, we're starting with a grammar lesson in the past tense, which is the past simple tense. It's the first lesson. So here's the table of contents. We will be talking about the uses or the usages of the simple past tense, the formulation and the spelling rules, the expressions used to, and some exercises. So let's start with the uses. There are three main uses for the past simple tense. First, for completed actions in the past. So we use the past simple tense to express actions that started and finished at a point in the past. For example, he broke his tooth last week. So he broke already an action that took place at a specific point in the past, which is last week. Peter cooked dinner last night. Also cooked is an action that took place at a specific point in the past. It started and it ended in the past. The second use is for habits in the past. So habits that used to take place in the past. For example, Peter played the piano when he was a child. So I say played. So this was a habit that Peter had during childhood. And also we have, he studied Spanish when he was a student. This is an action or a habit mainly that was taking place before. The third use is series of completed actions. For example, when we're saying he sat down, took out a notebook and a pen and started taking notes. So here I have series of actions. Sat down, took out, and started. Three actions listed one after the other, and the three of them for sure have to be completed before in the past. The second example, he made breakfast, drove his son to school, and went to work. So also made, drove, and went. These are three actions. I'm listing a series of three actions that all of them were completed before in the past. What's the formula for the past simple tense? For regular verbs, we only add D or ED to the root form or the base form of the verb. Let's look now at the spelling rules. So if the verb ends with an E, I only add D. So I do not need to add another E. Like the verb like, it becomes liked, so I only add T. Or hate, hated, I only add D. Now, when I have one stressed vowel plus a consonant, we need to double the consonant and then add ED. For example, prefer, preferred. So we have the vowel letter E stressed between two consonants, and what's coming after letter E, which is the vowel letter, letter R, which is the consonant letter. So I need to double the consonant, which is R, and I then add E and D. For example, also we have stop and stopped. Let me annotate and show you. So I have, as you can see here, stop and stopped. So O is a stressed vowel letter. And then after O, we have a consonant letter. So before adding ED, I need to double this consonant letter and becomes stopped. Now, when I have a consonant letter and then I have a Y, I need to cross the Y and add IED, like study, studied, carry, carried. However, when I have Y preceded with a vowel letter, I do not cross the Y, I keep it, and I only add ED, like play, played, enjoy, enjoyed. Now, these rules aren't new to you because when we studied the present perfect tense, when we were looking at the verb, its past tense and its past participle, we looked mainly at the irregular verbs and regular verbs. So these are the similar rules. You already know them. Here we have, as I was saying, for the irregular verbs. So irregular verbs, as the rule says, they are irregular, so they do not follow a specific or a regular rule, which is adding D or ED. They have their own form. Let's look at this box, the verbs in this box. We have some verbs that do not change their form at all. Like verb put, in the past tense, it says put. Cut, cut, cost, cost. So Some verbs are the same, and in the past tense, I do not add D or ED for them. And these would be considered also irregular verbs. Some verbs change only one form, usually the vowel letter. For example, run becomes ran. So I'm changing the vowel letter U to an A. Or come becomes came. Begin, began. So some verbs only change one form, and mainly it would be the vowel letter. Some other verbs change simple past and past participle. So like bring, brought, brought. So brought is a whole different verb, a whole different spelling than bring. So in the past simple, yes, and past participle, both of them are different from the main verb, which is bring. Also stand, stood, stood. Now some verbs have three different forms. We have like swim, swam, and the past participle would be swum, or eat, ate, eaten. So these are different cases of how irregular verbs might change when we need to use them in the past simple tense. Now, what are time expressions? Time expressions are expressions, as the title says, so we use expressions to express the time of that action in the simple past. For example, when I say, I played this and this yesterday. So I'm expressing the time of that action which took place in the simple past, or last week, last month, 1 week ago, 2 months ago, 3 years ago, yesterday morning, in 1990, the day before yesterday, March, Sunday, or when I was born, etc. So these are mainly the expressions. How are these helpful? When you're talking, you do use them to express when that action took place in the past. Also in our tests, and when we're talking to someone or reading something and we see these time expressions, we can identify that this person is expressing an action that took place in the past. Now we have used to. Used to expresses a habitual action or a situation that existed in the past but is not practiced anymore. So we use used to, this term, in the past simple tense to express habitual actions or situations, as we said in the usages at the beginning of this lecture. So to express habitual actions or situations that existed in the past, but for sure they do not take place anymore. Because as we said, all actions in the past tense happened before and ended before. So for example, when I say, Robert used to eat junk food all the time. Now he doesn't. So here, as you can see, the verb eat is not in the past simple tense as it should be, like eat, ate, or eaten. Okay, so why is that? Because we have used to before it. So what's the rule? When I have used to before the verb, I have to put the verb as is. So I do not say used to thought, I say used to think. So I keep the main verb when I have used to. So used to is a term I use before the main verb, and I keep it the same, the main verb, to express the actions and mainly habits that used to take place in the past. So let's look at the second example. Daniel and Jessica used to believe that ghosts are real. So believe, the past tense of believe is believed. We need to add D. But because here it's preceded with used to, I removed the D. So I put the main verb, the basic form, which is believe. So it would be used to believe. So after the term used to, you write the base form of the verb. Layla, for example, in the negative form, didn't use to eat healthy food. Now, when we're changing from the affirmative sentence to the negative sentence, I just need to add didn't. So did and not. And I keep use to, not used also, didn't use to eat. Okay, so the negative form, we write the base form of use and verb. I do not say used. I do not add D here. didn't, used to eat. I keep them the same here. So here I had used, here I say use, I remove the D, if you cannot see the difference. Again, let's look at this sentence in comparison to this sentence. In the affirmative, I have used to and used with the ed, sorry, and the base form of the verb. However, in the negative form, I remove the D for verb use. Why is that? Because I already have did here. So did not used to eat. In the question form, as we all know, did needs to be at the beginning of the sentence. So did Jake used to live here? Did Jake use, also without a D, to live, also base form? So that's mainly how we use this term and how we use it in affirmative, negative, and interrogative sentences. So we have subject, was, were, they were friends, for example, in questions and negative forms. And for verbs, we have subject, verb plus ed. She worked yesterday. Negative, she was not or were not here. And here with verbs, she did not work yesterday. Here, for example, with verb to be, which is was or were, they, which is the subject, were not or he was not a friend. With the verbs, I use did with the subject and then the verb, which is the base form of the verb. So here you need to memorize the forms. Again, with verb to be, I have was or were. So verb to be in the past tense is either was or were. I use was for singular subjects and were for plural subjects and I and you. And that's in the affirmative sentence. In the negative sentence, I only add not after verb to be. So was not or were not. In the question form, I say was or were they friends. So was or were they friends. Now, when I have the verb itself, I have to have the verb with ed if it's regular. If it's irregular, I put the past tense of that verb with the subject. Like she worked, she taught yesterday. Now, in the negative, she did not teach. So taught here, past tense, here it goes back to the base form, which is teach, because I already have did, and not for sure because it's negative. So she did not work yesterday. In the question form, I start with did. Did she work yesterday? Okay, so you need to be careful when we use the past simple of the verb and when I take it back to its base form. Now we have some practice questions and we'll be done with this lecture. So in part A, you need to change the following verbs into the past simple form. You have participate, swim, joke, die, write, lie, think, tolerate, agree, teach, see, walk, wake, and give up. So if you're an online student, please take your own time to solve them, and then you'll be able to look at the answer key. Part B, you need to fill in the blanks with the correct past simple form of the verbs in brackets. Last weekend, my friends and I, we have verb decide. So decided, it already ends with an E, it's a regular verb. So I only add a D. My friends and I decided to go out for lunch. We, you have verb think, and you need to continue the sentence. Here we have another question. You need to write 3 sentences about things you used to do and now stopped. So we need to use used to. I used to eat this, okay? Now in part B, you need to write 3 sentences with the term used to also, but in the affirmative, negative, and interrogative. Part C, you need to construct sentences based on what people used to believe in. So also people used to believe in this, for example. many years ago. And you have here words. You need to follow the order of the words to construct these sentences. You have the first one already solved for you. You have people believe in superstitions, and this is the affirmative form. So people used to believe in superstitions. Something bad luck passed under a ladder. So some used to think, etc. Negative form and interrogative form. Similarly, you need to revise back the slide in which we explained the forms, and you need to write them correctly, adding used to. In part D, you need to write a short paragraph of 4 to 6 sentences about what you did this past weekend, and you need to make sure the past tense is correct. So here, the purpose of writing this paragraph is using the past tense in your writing, and mainly we'll be using the past tense when starting our narrative writing, because you will be narrating a story that took place in the past or something that you've experienced in the past. Now you have the answer key for parts A and B. Let's look at them quickly. The answer key. Okay. So, for example, participate, participated, it's a regular verb, so I only added D. Swim became swam, so I only changed the vowel letter, but here it's an irregular verb because I did not follow the regular rule of adding D or ED. Joke, joked, die, died, write, wrote, lie, lied, think, thought, tolerate, tolerated, agree, agreed, teach, taught, see, saw, walk, walked, okay, and etc. Then part B also, we changed all these verbs to the correct form in the past simple tense. Also here, part C, you have them solved all. As I said, you need to write people used to do this, and you need to write it in the correct form, whether it's in the affirmative, negative, or interrogative. Now we have a homework, which is due on Thursday, February 3rd, 2022. It's worksheet 19 for this week 19. You will find it on the Padlet on this lesson, which is the past simple tense. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any question, please find my email, and have a nice day.